peace, we actually mean well-being, right? That you should. It's like saying, I hope you're feeling well, or a little bit more formal than that. And but these phrases, when they go through languages and cultures, etc., they tend to have this change in their character. Even in modern English, we'll say, as peace be with you, and people say, well, what do you mean by that? You mean feel peaceful, or whatever that might mean? So, in any event, Shalom Aleichem to everyone, and Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start off with Lecha Dodi. No, Shalom Aleichem.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that one. That's why he started with that. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Molechem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nir Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Well, why don't we take a moment to silently pray. If you have a book, take a look at 8. If you don't have a book, don't worry about it. Just do a silent prayer of gratitude for your week and for the people who populated your week. And now that they've populated our minds briefly, and we are all together, we can sing Hine Matov Manaim. How great it is that we all can sit together here in fellowship.
Hine Matov Manaim, Sheberachim Gam Yachad. 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 Matov Manayim, Sheberachim Gam Yachad. Matov Manayim, Sheberachim Gam Yachad. Matov Manayim, Sheberachim Gam Yachad. Sheberachim Gam.
So many of the medieval psalms and songs had little hints and little tricks in them. And what we're going to be singing here is Lecha Dodi, but in it, for those who are actually, kind of a little bit Hebrew savvy, if you look at the first four verses, they actually have the letters of the name of the guy who wrote it. His name was Solomon Alkabaz. And so Shamor, Likrat, Mikdash, and Hitorari, or Shlomo, that's the Hebrew name for Solomon. Oh, you want me to do
Somebody's going to do that, right?
I want to do that
Kiddush.
Oh,
Light
the candles. Okay.
It's been a while since you've done this. Who wants to light candles? Come on up. No wind today. Sure, if I do it.
Okay, back to Shlomo. Chadodi.
Chadodi, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, מקבלה. וחדודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת, מקבלה. שמעו וזכו בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת ולתחילה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. התעוררי, 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 כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. These rise. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת מקבלה.
Just remain standing for Baruch, and you can find that in your Siddur on page 28.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Wake up and lie, lie, lie. Gonna 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 lie, lie, lie. Baruchu er Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. La 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 la, 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 la 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 la, la la la.
Be seated, everyone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bivaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah potech sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. Our vote prayer talks about those folks who went before us and who allowed us to reach this day. And so on this Memorial Day weekend, we think of those who fought before us, who served before us, who protected us. And the second prayer after this Baruch Hu, before the Shema, is called the Gevurot. It means power and strength. And it speaks in part of those people who went to battle and a God who freed the captives and helped to lift up the fallen. And so we think of those folks, not only those who gave of their energy and time, but those who also gave of their lives that we might be free, that we might be able to celebrate this freedom. If anybody's a veteran, would you please raise your hand? You're a veteran. Okay, we have a veteran over there. Any other person a veteran? Well, let's give thanks to our veterans and be aware of them and their service to our country. Watch a show, a movie, anything you can to just memorialize and call. Pardon? It's a little hard to hear. All right. Is that better? All right. So, huh?
Boost Howard's mic up. I'm talking about. Okay, try again. Try again, Rabbi.
All right. Let's try this. Is this fine? No.
Gee, thanks.
Going from this standpoint. Pardon? Not my area of expertise.
Hello, hello, hello.
That'll do it. That'll do
All
it.
right. Thank you for that.
You don't want to miss a word. He's
Well, I
got to
won't
speak
repeat what
later.
I said, but let's just take a moment. Oh, that's really good. I can even hear. Let's just take that extra moment to dedicate ourselves perhaps to spending some time, whether it's calling a veteran this weekend or thanking somebody for their service. Those people who are not only preceded us, I said in the vote prayer, which is the practice of recalling the past and also hoping that we remain protected in the future. We rise now for the Shema. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol avacha U'v'chol nafshecha U'v'chol me'odecha V'hayu Hadvarim ha'eh Asher Anochi Mitzavecha Al Yom Alevavecha V'shinatam levanecha V'dibarta bam V'shivtecha V'beitecha Uflekecha Havaderech Ushokbecha Ukeumecha Ushatam leot Al Yadecha V'hayu Latatafot Beinecha Uchtaptam Al Mezuzot Beitecha
yesharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet. This week has been a week of some tragedy in the wider Jewish community, and we have a lot to think about when we read the press or read the news and contemplate. The individuals who were killed in Washington after having worked for towards humanitarian purposes, have a small connection to us. Rabbi Nemitov, who was rabbi at Temple Israel for many years, and then later served in Kansas City, had as a member of his congregation and as part of one of his confirmation classes, the woman who was shot dead at the memorial. And that's one of the things about our people is, yes, Marcy? And so that has a connection with them. So there's we just have those connections to people throughout this Jewish world of ours, and someone once said when a Jew stubs their toe in Rio de Janeiro, I feel it in New York, and so it has affected us all. We thank God for those little redemptions that we get, and the Michamocha is a song of redemption. You can find the vote on, let's do Visham Room now. You got it?
I have it. It's got 2 pages.
He's got it. It's on page 44 on your Siddur. tefillah to vote is on page 46 of your Siddur. Please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftahu fi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, let my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor, Vehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot Avimehot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Mechakel Va'im V'Chesed, Mechayei Hakol Merachamim Rabim, Somek Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Omekayem Emunato, Mishenei Afar, Michamocha, Gevurot, Umidah Melach, Elet Memid, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ne'emanata Lechayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kidosh HaKadosh, Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yalu Kasela. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Amen.
Please be seated, everyone. Take a few moments now to pray silently on your own. not relevant yet, but I'm sure you'll read it anyways. While I'm talking, which won't hurt you. Yep. In October of this year, I was serving as a rabbi on a cruise between Hawaii and Sydney, Australia. And somewhere in that long stretch of Pacific water, I got the worst indigestion I had ever had in my life. So much so that I was getting sweats. And I thought, maybe this is COVID. A day went by and I felt okay, and then the next day the same thing. So I thought, okay. I still trundled off to the gym and still did workouts, but I could only do about a third of what I had been doing really for the past year. But it was okay, you know. Things happen like that. I thought I had been sick and that I would recover. Spent a short time in Sydney and then flew back through Los Angeles, back to Columbus eventually. And in the Los Angeles airport, I had to load all the luggage onto this cart and started to push it because some mock-up in the system didn't allow it to be transferred. I pushed it halfway, all the way across the airport. And then it was quite clear, as I experienced a huge pain in the center of my chest, that there was something wrong. Now, my brother had died of a heart attack, we think, at age 69, but he was a smoker and in questionable aerobic condition, one might say. Thanks to our healthcare system, and I'm about to be sarcastic, it took only 8 weeks to decide that I needed a stent. So from my diagnosis to this crushing pain in my chest to that time. And 10 weeks after the incident, I went in for a procedure. Well, that didn't end it because the veteran cardiologist told me that I had a total occlusion, a total blockage of my heart, and he wasn't qualified to do the operation. I said, okay, great, so let's get the next team in here. Well, the next team was on vacation, and they were going to be back in 2 weeks. And I thought, this is crazy. I'm not going to do that. But there was something awesome about the whole situation. Two things, actually. The first thing was, and it made me absolutely awed, I said, how am I alive, folks? How is it that I'm alive? It's the Widowmaker. And they said that what happens is that you're in pretty good shape and you've evolved natural bypasses to go around that occlusion, and you can, and I was one small step below being able to be totally normal. I mean, at least as far as my, everyday life went. And I thought, wow, this is really fabulous. I was hugely in awe of that. Now, here I thought of the High Holiday Liturgy, who shall live and who shall die? It actually says who shall live and who shall die. And right after it says before his time or at his scheduled date, right? So I managed to leap into the extra time. Then I had a second kind of miraculous type of thing. I went in for the second procedure, and I was a little nervous. In an hour and a half, with my heart beating and with me being almost fully conscious, I was in a little bit of a dream state. They put in 2 stents, kept me breathing and heart beating all this time, and managed to utilize these small instruments, and not only that, but to know the blood chemistry and to know the pressures and all the things that go into that. And miraculously, with just 2 little holes in my wrists, there I was, flowing again. The knowledge, the teamwork, the chemistry and the mechanics, the wisdom, the experience and practice that went into something like that was awesome. I still can't believe that everything could come together like that in one human being who would have been dead, 15 weeks earlier, and it all worked. Now, you may ask why I use this kind of religious language, this kind of miracle language, when it was just simply a natural phenomenon and it was technical skills and all the rest of that. And it's true. I mean, one might say that. What got me to thinking, however, was an article that came out just this past week by another one in a group of people, usually women, as a matter of fact, who they've lost their faith somewhere along the way, but they were fascinated by people, and especially in the United States, who maintain a faith of some sort. Most of the time, it's not it's spread out a lot, but people have this kind of religious sentiments. So I read her op-ed, and she says that her own spirituality longs to persist, and it hasn't been sated by secularism. I wanted a God, she said. I live in an ocean away from a small Arkansas chapel, but I still remember the bliss of finding the sublime in the mundane. I still wanted it all. I wanted miracles, and I wanted souls, and some sort of cosmic alchemy that made sense of the chaos. Now, when you read something like that in New York Times, and as I did, then come the letters to the editor. Now, on many topics, you'll see, if you take a look, and I do sometimes, you'll see 300, 400 letters. This had 1,500 letters, originals, and then all the replies to all the other letters, making up well over 4,500 entries. That's what you normally get. And the vast majority of those entries, when she talked about wanting something religious in her own life and unable to have it or feel it, were from people who were mostly from secular folks. Many of them complaining about the oppressiveness of their religious upbringing and happy to be out of that. Others talking about the control of men and so on and so forth in this whole thing. One Asian American says most Chinese Americans are not religious. For the most part, we live in interesting moral lives without religion. Our sense of purpose derives from career, friends, family, art, adventure, love, and the mysteries of existence. We do not need a replacement to be happy. Be good to other people because they are your fellow human beings. And other folks had very similar reactions. A social scientist adds, well, the fact is that most people actually who attend religious services of any kind tend to be in somewhere above the poverty line. Go below the poverty line, you won't find that. The most interesting ones that I found were from people a little bit more like me, clearly. I should say there was one that said that if all they did at Temple or church of this kind was have an hour of singing, then I would go every week. All right? I should explain that phenomenon in a moment, but let me just do it now. Because what singing does is it brings you out of yourself. It makes you listen to other people. It's selfless. And you're creating harmonies with other folks. You're out of yourself for those moments. You can listen to and tap along, join, but you're not thinking your own thoughts. You're thinking, you're saying, I want to be part of this group. I sacrifice, if that's a word, in order to join in with this other group of folks. That's a feeling that you don't get in very many places. As I say, the ones that I most like were kind of from scientists. I still remember, says one, finding sublime in the mundane. As a scientist, I find sublime in something mundane as the structure of space and time. And don't get me started on the sublimity of quantum entanglement. You know what that is? That's when one thing happens over here and there's a reaction, could be reaction hundreds and thousands of miles away to there's spins with atoms and stuff like that, positive and negative forces. This one affects that one, and there was no sufficient reaction time. I'm in my late 60s, says another, awed by science, astrophysics, astronomy, microbiology, a beautiful silent world of wonder that is humbling and magnificent. My mind is continually open to a reality beyond what my senses can detect. There may be a God at the center of it or not. It no longer matters to me. He's taken theology out of his thinking and just goes to the splendor and the awe. Well, enough of that survey and of the notes. Before I add just 3 ideas here, and then we're going to take a look at these texts. I mentioned just a few moments ago that no matter where you are, at least in the Jewish tradition, our family is huge. We start with Sarah and Abraham, and we go to the latest child who was born and is part of the community. Over all of that time, they're part of my family. And over space, whether it's Washington, D.C., or Columbus, or Ben Gurion Airport, or some of our troubled campuses, or Cochin, India, where Marcy and I went into an active synagogue on the west coast of India. It's a worldwide cousinhood. Okay, and now the 3 religious notes. As I said, don't pass lightly over the remark with regard to music, where we become unconscious of ourselves in part and meld without judgment to the rest of the group, adjusting ourselves and bringing to it harmony. And it's not just that harmony, but the whole atmosphere. Second, religion doesn't just inform, but it makes demands. So we may not have a commander, said one, but we feel commanded. Do you feel commanded sometimes to do things? We may not think of that commander, may not attribute that commandment to a personality in the sky or somewhere even in ourselves. But that sense of commitment and commandedness to not only act with our basic humane instincts, but when we're not feeling them, nevertheless to feel badly about it, and then to move on and try to do something. That sense of commandedness. And finally, it gives us a kind of what's called in technical language a teleology. It seems a Sisyphean task, rolling the ball up the hill and watching it fall down again, rolling it up the hill and falling, having one of our political heads says, we're not going back, and we went back. Right? But nevertheless, picking up that task and moving, we say at the end of our Aleinu, God shall be one and his name shall be one. And forget about the theology, the bringing oneness, putting it together, engaging in repair. That's what we try to do, and no matter how far away it seems, we're driven to that. We're commanded to do it, and we respond. Let's take a look then just at these two little pieces of literature that I have here. One is a poem. Can I walk out here? Yeah. What? Yes, yes, can I do this? Can I do this? Or should I stay here? Stay here? All right, okay. I can do that? Okay. It says I can walk. Okay. I don't know the system. I haven't done services here for like 18 months. Okay. So this is a poem by one of my favorite poets. Many of you have heard of her. Her name is Mary Oliver. And this is the way it goes. Does somebody want to read it? Yeah. You haven't read it? Okay.
It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch. A few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This is not a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak.
So that's the notice of nature about which we spoke. And I want you to just, when I read that last line, and a silence in which another voice may speak, I got the chills. And now this second one, it's a little bit harder, and I want to read it to you, and then I'm going to explain what it means. And it has to do with the last point I made. They say that redemption would come only when humanity will not have been expecting it. And the whole night, they sat vigilant at the doors of stores and homes, and they did not expect redemption. And at daybreak, there were tears rolling off the rooftops. So I'm going to shorten this, otherwise we'd have a long conversation. So I'm simply going to jump right to the. Did anybody get that? Think they want to give it a shot? That last line. There's a tradition in the Jewish tradition about God being disappointed with human beings. And God cries. God doesn't, we expected more. And what the poet here is depicting is that when we don't have hope and we don't overcome our despair, and God knows some of us have been feeling this a little bit more over the past few months than we may have last year or a year or two ago. When we don't continue to throw down the gauntlet, when we don't work for some kind of redemption, this is when God cries. Of course, it's a story and it's fanciful. But I say yes with all the noise, and even in the everyday, we can still hear a voice with Mary Oliver. And yes, with all the sarcasm, and even as we despair, we can still push on because we have a vision. Shabbat Shalom. maybe contacting people, some veterans, or taking some time to remember our veterans this weekend. Also take time to remember some folks who need our healing thoughts and prayers, but also a phone call or a note or a text or an email message of some sort. These include Zaini Abdulhali, Rabbi Jonathan Adler, Jonathan Agan and Sarah Bates, Margie Block, Ron Bragg and Lindsay Wilson, Mart Serrani, Ann Clark and Keith Clark, Bruce Cohen and Alex Dubin, Ellen Dubrow and Evan Dubrow, Sam Edelman and Larry Eisenman, Carrie Eschler, Tracy Folkschul, Narit Friedberg, Marilyn Friedman, Alan Goldberg, Jessica Heffley, Lev Herschel Ben Batamiv Yaakov, Debbie Hiltbrand and Jackie Jacobs, Beth Jasalowitz, Eliana Keebler, Dan Lang, Minna Melton, Nacham Michaela, Batashena Vachava, Vachunin Gedalia, Phyllis Miles, David Paragas, Lisa Pena, Jeremy Phelan, and Ian Phillips, Rashi Prasowski, Jessica Rasberg, Joe Reif, Willow Rohrbaugh, Maya Rossio, Lauren Rolf Sauer, and Janet Schwartz, Steve Siskin, Eliza Siskinson, Rachel Vieira, Jerry Young, Ossie Zimmer.
A couple from Facebook, Mike Friedman, Alex Posner, Cheryl Gensler, Myrna Nelson, Michael Foden, Michelle Disher.
Let's continue with prayers on their behalf. Misha Baruch can be found on the screen.
Anyone have any names to add?
Section with the Aleinu. You can find that on page 282 or on the screen in front of you. Please rise.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, ותקר לו על רוצה בראשית, שלא עשנו כקויי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We recall those who died in recent days, Leah Levinson and Ronald Solomon. We recall also those lost staffers of the Israeli Embassy in Washington, D.C., Aaron Lushinsky and Sarah Milgram. And these, the anniversaries whose deaths occurred this week. Louis Barkin, Jack Feinstein, Herman Friedberg, Sarah Friedman, Pavel Glasman, Dr. Merrill Susan Goldman, Julia Lewis, Coleman Lockton, Lillian Pies, Agnes Ruggiero, Sidney Rocker, Jerry Sapidin, Henry Schulte, Mitchell Schifrin, Helen Lenoff Schulman, Ethel Solomon, Earl Sonnenstein, George R. Zahn. Are there others for whom we are reciting Kaddish this evening in particular? In their memory and in the memory of those for whom there is no one to recite the Kaddish prayer, we act as their Kaddishers. I'll ask everyone please to rise and recite the Kaddish together. Page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach hiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayichon v'yomechon v'chayei docho beit Yisrael v'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam ul'almei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh Vitadar, Vitalev, Vitalal, Shemid, Kutsha, Barichu, Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Please be seated, everyone. Is it announcement time? Announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. A couple of quick announcements. Please join us back here next week at 6 p.m. for our annual Broadway Shabbat service featuring the TBS Sharyonim Choir singing a handful of, is it actually like Broadway songs, or is it the tunes with the service?
Yes, it's a mixture.
It's a mixture, okay. Shavuot is coming, so please join us Monday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. for a short Shavuot service, followed by a Blintz Bar Oneg. And TBS's annual meeting, where we wrap up 24-25 and look ahead to 25-26, is on June 11th at 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. So please join us. For all of this and more, please check out the weekly window. Give us a call. Shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to help. Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Bob. B. Bobby. Nick, anything?
Nope, very well.
Any further announcements? I'll let you all run to dinner if you're lucky enough to have it. From the book of Zechariah is the book of Zechariah is the next to last prophet in the Bible, and he talks a lot about the future and a lot about the great things that will come in the great future, including Adonai Echad v'Shmo Echad. That's exactly where it appears. But most people don't quote the book of Zechariah. You're about to do so in a version in English, which is on page 365, and it's called Not by Might.
Yes, we got it. טוב ואהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תהילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. קיווינו בהרת, אותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה ורצון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
Not my hat on. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.